From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I am Samana Siddiqui. Our top story tonight. The gunman who killed 23 people in the deadliest attack against Latinos in U.S. history agreed Monday to pay $5 million to the victims' families. Patrick Crusius pleaded guilty to federal charges earlier this year in a deal with prosecutors that took the death penalty off the table. The 25-year-old committed the massacre in August 2019. He drove nearly 700 miles from Dallas to the El Paso Walmart with the intention of killing Latinos and immigrants. Before the mass shooting, Crusius professed his xenophobic and white supremacist beliefs in an online post warning of what he called a Hispanic invasion of Texas. He is currently serving 90 consecutive life sentences. Crusius now awaits a state trial that could result in the death penalty if he is convicted. New York State Senators Jabari Briesport and Zohran Mamdani joined a protest against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's speech at the UN General Assembly on Friday. The demonstration took place outside the UN building in New York City and was attended by more than 250 Jewish protesters and their allies. During his speech, Netanyahu displayed a map of the Middle East without Palestine and claimed he has long sought peace with the Palestinians. Sumaya Awad is Communications and Strategy Director of the Adalat Justice Project, a Palestinian-led advocacy organization based in Illinois. She said the U.S. should refuse to host a man who has openly praised the ethnic cleansing of thousands of Palestinians. Demonstrators on Friday also declared there can be no peace under apartheid. Senators Briesport and Mamdani drew attention to the more than 700,000 Israelis living in illegal settlements in the occupied West Bank. Last year, the Israeli government forcibly evicted more than 1,000 Palestinians from their homes. Hundreds more have been evicted this year to make way for Jewish settlers. This year also saw several deadly settler raids on Palestinian towns. Demonstrators demanded the U.S. stop giving Israel billions of dollars a year in almost unconditional aid, which they say is complicit with the apartheid regime in Israel. According to the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, Israel receives $3.3 billion annually in foreign military financing from the United States. A recent Human Rights Watch report shows that 2 decades on, Iraqis tortured by U.S. forces are still waiting for justice and compensation. It documents the case of Talib al-Majli, a former detainee at Abu Ghraib prison. The prison was known for torture, including sexual and physical abuse of prisoners, which came to light after a leak of disturbing photographs in 2004. Al-Majli, who was released without charge after 16 months from Abu Ghraib, still struggles and resorts to self-harm to cope with the physical and psychological scars of his imprisonment. Human Rights Watch's inquiry about his case and requests for information about compensation plans for torture victims have not been answered by the Pentagon. Despite a promise by then U.S. Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld to adequately compensate detainees in 2004, HRW found no evidence of compensation, apologies, or reparations. Attempts to use the U.S. Foreign Claims Act and the U.S. court system have proved futile. HRW Director in Washington, Sarah Yeager, emphasized the ongoing trauma of victims and their families. She lamented the lack of a clear path for Iraqis to seek redress or recognition. Yeager urged the U.S. authorities to initiate prosecutions and provide compensation and official apologies to survivors and their families. A fire severely damaged a mosque in the city of Eskilstuna in southeastern Sweden. Mosque Communications Director Anas Dinesh claims the fire was caused by arson. Police reports show the mosque was threatened and a target of physical attacks. The mosque is unusable because of the damage. We're bringing more news stories after the break, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back. French athletes will not be allowed to wear headscarves in the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris. Appearing on France 3 TV on Sunday, French Sports Minister Amélie Oudéa-Castéra expressed support for what he called strict secularism. He said no member of the French delegation would be allowed to wear a headscarf. A group of footballers known as Les Hijabeuses had appealed to the Council of State against the French Football Federation's decision to ban the head covering in 2016. In June, the Council of State rejected the appeal and upheld the ban. In related news, France's highest court ruled Monday that the government ban on the abaya in schools is legal. The abaya is a loose-fitting and full-length robe worn by some Muslim women and girls. The Council of State rejected an appeal by 3 groups against the government ban, which was announced last month. Earlier, Vincent Bringard, a lawyer for the Muslim Rights Action, filed an appeal with the Council of State to seek the ban's suspension. He argued the ban violates several fundamental freedoms. On September 7th, the Council of State rejected the group's appeal. The court ruled the ban does not seriously violate and is not manifestly illegal to the right to respect for private life, the freedom of religion, and the right to education. The controversial move sparked a backlash against the government, which has been criticized in recent years for targeting Muslims. Muslims in the Netherlands expressed alarm over revelations of secret state investigations of their communities and Islamic institutions. Stefan van Baarle, leader of the Denk Party parliamentary group and a member of parliament, says the secret investigations are not isolated incidents. He said they reveal a pattern of hatred against Muslims within the government. He called for a thorough investigation into government practices related to anti-Muslim hatred and discriminatory laws. Head of the contact point for Muslims and government in the Netherlands, Mohsen Koktas, says he is not surprised by these undercover investigations. He attributed them to growing Islamophobia and racism plaguing the Netherlands and Europe since 2010. Koktas said Islamophobia and racism are evident in various government agencies. In 2021, it was revealed private companies were used to conduct covert investigations into mosques and institutions. These were funded by the Dutch Agency for Security and Counterterrorism. A Muslim woman has been sentenced to 2 years in prison and a fine of more than $16,000 under Indonesia's blasphemy law. The sentence imposed on Lina Lutfiawati stems from a TikTok video in which she recited an Islamic prayer before sampling pork during her visit to Bali. Known for her lifestyle and food videos, Lutfiawati is seen sitting at a dining table and reciting the Islamic phrase Bismillah, in the name of Allah, before eating pork skin. The court found her guilty of spreading information that incites hatred against religious people and specific groups. Indonesia is the world's largest Muslim nation. It has seen an increase in the use of blasphemy laws against religious minorities and individuals who have offended Islam. Lutfiawati, who is known on social media as Lina Mukherjee, has more than 2 million followers. She expressed shock at the verdict and is considering appealing. She admitted to doing something wrong, but said she did not expect this punishment. Tensions between India and Canada have escalated after Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau alleged possible links between India and the murder of Canadian Sikh leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Nijjar was shot outside a Sikh temple in the province of British Columbia in June, sparking widespread concern in the local Sikh community. India has called Canada's accusations absurd and accused Canada of failing to curb what it calls Sikh extremism and anti-Indian activities. The dispute highlights long-standing tensions between the two countries over the Khalistan movement, a campaign for a sovereign Sikh state in India's Punjab region. This movement has considerable support among a section of Sikhs living in Canada. Nijjar was a well-known supporter of Khalistan. The origins of the Khalistan movement date back to the end of British colonial rule. It gained momentum in the 1970s and 80s. Key catalysts include the Indian military storming of the Golden Temple in 1984 and the subsequent anti-Sikh riots. Journalist Gurpreet Singh notes that the resurgence of the Khalistan movement can be attributed to the policies of India's current Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim oversaw the conversion of a man to Islam after Friday prayers in New York last week. The unexpected event occurred at the Islamic Cultural Center of New York. Ibrahim visited the center to donate a copy of the Quran. Soon after prayers, he was invited to oversee the conversion, although this was not part of his official program. Ibrahim was the first foreign head of state to deliver a sermon at the historic mosque. He stressed the importance of Muslim unity in the face of challenges such as Islamophobia and called for joining forces with non-Muslims to promote understanding. He also urged Muslims to expand their knowledge, including in the area of technology. Ibrahim mentioned Malaysia Madani, a concept inspired by the leadership of Prophet Muhammad in the city of Medina, which he introduced as a prime minister. The 5-day Al-Badr festival commemorating the virtues of Prophet Muhammad recently concluded in the United Arab Emirates. The celebration was held under the patronage of Sheikh Mohammed bin Hamad al-Sharqi, Crown Prince of the city of Fujairah. It marks Al-Malid, an Emirati tradition honoring the significance of the Prophet's birth in the year 570 with religious chants, art, and culture. The festival showcased the rich heritage of Al-Malid, traditionally celebrated on the Prophet's birthday, but also on other important occasions. It featured performances by the Oman Arij Ensemble, the Fujairah Malid Group, and the Dubai Traditional Arts Group, centered around the theme in the love of the Prophet. Festival organizers also announced a Badr Fellowship, which aims to support writing projects and the publication of books on the biography and virtues of the Prophet. Its goal is to enrich the Arabic library with contemporary publications and encourage talented young writers. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.